Hi, my name's Sean, and I'm with Eric Porter. He's the founder of Backyard Orphans. It's a ministry that helps equip churches care for orphans, and it's awesome. He's giving up time to speak with me today, so thank you, Eric.
Yeah, my pleasure.
First question I want to ask is, how did you get into leadership? How did you start your leadership journey? I want to say, yeah.
I have a big mouth. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Early for me, like high school days, I just knew that God was calling me into ministry.
Yeah.
From there, it was like trying to figure out what it was. Went to Bible college and wanted to be a pastor, but was super intimidated to talk in front of people.
Oh, yeah.
So this freaks me out. I'm just kidding. Not anymore, but it used to. But I think there was people around me that identified there's some leadership in your life.
Yeah.
I think, there's personality traits that can point to leadership, and there's other personality that maybe lend themselves to a natural born leader, to one that's maybe created or sculpted along the way.
Yeah.
And I probably was a good mix of that. Probably, especially in my early days, the charisma in me, loud personality or life of the party type thing would, people wanted to use my power for good, not evil. So I think they were steering me that direction at a young age. Even my youth pastor, like giving me opportunities as a high school or early college student to lead games and activities for the junior high groups. Hey, order the pizza, create the games, and it's this time, make sure you're here early, got everything set up, and it's like, okay. So I think you're still going, right?
Yeah. Good.
Something moved. We thought you left us, but you're still here. So I think it was, through college and then, jumping into full-time ministry almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I think for me, when you say the word journey, I like that word because I knew that my charisma could only take me so far. That I needed character to back up that charisma.
Yeah.
So for a guy like me who's maybe, on the disc charts, I'm a DI, type of thing. So I'm strong, but I can be fun. That's a natural born leader on their test. But I wanted to always build on my strengths and get my weaknesses to a place where they didn't hurt me. I just didn't accept the fact that, if I'm not good in analysis, or I'm not good in data, or I'm not good at listening, or I'm not good in one-on-one stuff, that's just the way I am. I don't think that was the sanctification process. I think for me, the sanctification process of me growing in God was, again, building on those strengths that God put in me, but getting my weaknesses to a place where they didn't hurt me.
Wow.
So it's been a long road. I wasn't born in a Christian family, so I had to figure out a full career. And even my mom was pretty strong, pretty entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
They're believers now, but she had her own business and stuff. So you kind of see that in my DNA, like to lead and be out front. But I knew I needed to polish some of the charisma or polish the natural bent. Where I have friends around me and even family members that are great leaders who are like CS personalities. They're like laid back and chill. And one is not less of a leader. I think they're probably more bent on being a great person naturally and maybe have to work on their speaking skills, where I was the flip side. Like I didn't have to work on moving a crowd.
Right.
I had to work on making sure my character behind the scenes or how I treated people matched up to what was on stage. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think along the way, again, that language of journey, when college was over, I knew I needed to continue education. So I would subscribe to John Maxwell cassettes. You know what they are?
Yeah.
You know what cassettes are?
I do.
Okay, good. Cassettes or Jeannie Mayo back in the youth ministry days, and just try to become better at being a leader. Reading all those books, eating them up, going to conferences, to try to continue to see where am I weak. I think early in my career too, got a part of different mentoring, coaching. It's coffee in the background if anybody wants a latte, they'll make you one, or a white rhino. But different conferences that really actually, it was less of a conference and more of a mentoring coaching stuff. So back in even 2005, got a part of some mentoring groups that were really helping you be who you were supposed to be and do what God called you to do. And honestly, it wasn't. This is not a setup, but before I came to this meeting with you today, I was actually researching a group that mentors and coaches like nonprofit CEO or presidents, founders, so that they can become better. Because I'm starting to feel and see a ceiling. I've been leading Backyard Orphans for about 8 years. And if you know anything about the cycles, somewhere at that year 7, I could get stagnant or hit a lid, and I am not willing to let that happen. Not just for me and my own mindset, although that's again that DI personality, like driven. I'm not gonna. I'm not ever gonna stand still or be stuck. But I think for me the impact is for me. Like I want to see more kids find homes with our ministry. And so I don't want a limitation in my leadership to limit the ministry. So again, journey on one of those mentoring groups. This is a little fun little thing I was just thinking about as we're talking. This little ring right here. But who am I looking at here?
This is Professor.
Hey, Professor, how you doing? Thanks for letting me do this. This is smart.
Professor Clancy Hayes.
Okay. So this was on that one of the mentoring groups I was with, Jeannie Mayo's comment.
Oh wow, yeah.
She did an illustration with Schindler's List.
Okay. Yeah.
Movie, and how Schindler in the movie, at the end of the scene, he'd help all these Jews escape and save their lives. People were melting silver all the time, to try to get people to escape from harm. And at the end, there's all these people of the Jewish, lifestyle, mindset, family, tradition, whatever, lined up and celebrating Schindler for all that he had done. And there was a getaway car because they needed him to leave because they were going to kill him. Yeah. And he was like, excuse me, we just had barbecue. He was kissing somebody on the face, and saying goodbye and giving hugs, and he saw the ring on his finger. It was a silver band, very similar to this, and he pulled it off and he started weeping. And they said, "What's wrong? Why? I mean, you've helped all these people and all their families. But why?" He goes, "Yes, but I could have helped one more." Wow. And the principle was, death in me is life in them.
Wow.
And so the more I die to myself as a leader, to my wants, my desires, my comfort, my weaknesses, my shortcomings, whatever, the more I can give life, the gospel, really, to those that need it.
Wow, that's awesome. So you started out, right out of college. What was that first, position or first place, I guess?
Yeah, it was in Coppell, Texas. Had a great pastor. We're still friends today. That was again almost 20 years ago. And, it was youth pastor / associate / groundskeeper / van bus driver / children's leader at camp / you know what I'm saying?
Multi-purpose.
So, you just wore a lot of hats. So you grow in a lot of ways, man. And it's funny. We came from our internship was at the larger church, and you kind of have this idea that you got it all figured out.
Yeah.
And then you interact with parents that you've unintentionally offended. And then you've got to grow in your leadership and how to serve them well and not be that D personality that wants to dominate and take a more, relational approach and stuff like that. So, there's a lot of hats in that season.
Yeah. So learning through the experience of just jumping in and
a lot of what not to do.
Yeah, that's good. Going off that, all of your leadership experience and journey, what would you say are some of the main challenges that you faced, as a leader?
I think I'll go to the personality side first. Again, you can see I love the disc and I love studying personality. The strength of that D is their natural leaders are the first to say, "I got it, we'll do it." They want to lead the pack. They want to jump in and all that kind of stuff. The weaknesses are they're bossy, brassy, overbearing, domineering. I mean, I could keep going. And so that can be at home or in your workplace or your church.
Yeah.
And so, just trying to figure out, how do you be who God created you to be, but and also submit to the Scripture about being kind. The fruits of the Spirit. You just have that list: love, joy, peace, patience. These probably aren't the most peaceful people, right?
Yeah.
So how do I be peaceful? how do I grow in kindness, gentleness, maybe even faithfulness? Because as a D, you don't sit still very long, And so we were at our last church for 10 years. That was God. Because I would think a DI, maybe sometimes harder when you're not the lead to stay in one spot for longevity. Because longevity is an important thing and stuff. So I think personality challenges. I'm going to give if you said leadership challenge, I think it was like post-college. Where's my source? Like in college, man, you guys are like saturated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, probably even oversaturated. Where you got chaplains and you got great professors. You got other classmates that you're iron sharpening iron.
Yeah.
You're in churches, serving and learning and growing, and then you leave a incubator that is like all things are helping you grow. And you leave that nest and you got to go figure it out yourself. So that's why it was like, and I didn't like to read. And I know, leaders are readers. I hate that statement, but it's true. You know what I'm saying? I read a lot now.
Right.
I didn't then.
Yeah.
And I just had to go, where am I even with reading? I go, okay, I'm going to read X amount of books per year.
Wow.
And I'm telling you in the beginning, bro, it was like 1 or 2, or I'd open 3 or 4 and never finish some type of stuff. But now, I mean, I don't know, maybe a dozen or more, or 20. I don't know how many I'm pushing through now.
Yeah.
Just because it is a source. I've got to find the source to grow. So I think that would be a second challenge is how do I keep growing as a leader?
Wow.
And so it was like books. It was the podcast. That's free. That's great.
Yeah.
Podcasts are great. Conferences. If someone could send me to a conference, especially from my background, not being church raised or really trained how to be a leader.
Right.
I think as a dad, as a leader, like how do I train my kids to be leaders? No matter the personality bent.
Yeah.
What are the challenges? I think the multiple hats thing was a challenge. In the beginning, because you learn if you could create a pie graph for everything, life might be a little easier. But what percentage of my job do you want me to spend as youth pastor Eric versus associate pastor Eric versus the groundskeeper versus the church? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And and you're there to serve that leader to me more than even that title.
Yeah.
So if he says you're doing grounds more because it's spring, and the grass is growing, and we need to mow the lawn.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And submitting to that biblical principle of being an armor bearer versus a title.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's hard.
Yeah.
God told me to reach the young people, and I'm mowing the grass. And it's
Right.
and I know some people that spent some time in jail and a cistern without scripture. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what was me?
Yeah.
So I think just those different moments.
You find being faithful with those things eventually led to maybe you were able to then you were faithful for a while in doing all those hats, wearing all those hats, but God honored that and you were able to kind of fit into the hat you wanted to wear that you feel like you felt most effective in or felt most called to, that.
Yeah, I think when you're faithful in the little things, you become rule over much principle. It's be faithful with the things God puts in front of you.
Yeah.
And and then it's hard when you start finding a tension point of I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing this or that anymore.
Yeah.
Then it's God help me with the language to communicate to my boss or leader on how to start handing that off, delegating it to someone else, because it's not good for anybody to stay in their weaknesses. And it's there's one thing to say I don't like to do that versus it's my weakness, and sometimes, probably a lot of times, it's the same.
Yeah.
But how you say that is different. So one of the things I'd say I always kept in my life, since college, really, I call it the hat trick connection. And so it's 3 relationships I always keep in my life. One is a Paul, someone who's older than me, who mentors me, who, like when I'm saying, man, I don't like mowing the yard, church, I feel like I'm doing it all the time. I talk to that mentor instead of my pastor.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't attend the church.
Yeah.
He's got, I don't know what to do about this. And that mentor, a godly mentor, a male, for me, that can help me with the right heart, the right mindset. I think you always go to God first, and then second, you go to a mentor type person that's like, Proverbs says, like many advisors plan succeed. And so I've always had that. I kind of want to be under authority, type of person. And so when life pulls you across the nation, you gotta figure out how to still stay connected to those calls.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
Next one would be Barnabas. So that's somebody your same age. So again, if you're staying on campus, you probably have a lot of guys that you see how to sharpen you in how to live your life or how not to live your life.
Yeah. Right.
But then to really pull someone close, like a friend that's close to, not close to, no, that's Jesus. I mean, somebody who's really tight that makes you more like Jesus, and it's like the 3-strand type thing, where they are really close. And man, throughout my life, I've had Paul or Barnabases that were just other men. And we've done like guy trips together, very intentional, where it's just like we go skiing together, we go climb Kilimanjaro together, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like all these different things.
It's awesome.
Like grow that friend thing. And then the third one is Timothy's. So Timothy's are someone, again, these are all same gender, but somebody that's younger than you, that looks up to you.
Yeah.
And you look to them, and you say what, I think it's 1 Corinthians 11:1 says, follow me as I follow Christ. Bro, that's like the ultimate leadership verse.
Yeah.
Right?
That's so good. Yeah.
Follow me as I follow Christ?
Yeah.
I don't like that verse, man. Like, I know me. And it's like,
yeah.
But that verse, to me, like, pushes us to consider leadership as, it's not an option. Especially in church leadership. You're setting an example.
Right.
And you're talking about challenge. You ready for this? I didn't think about this one. I found a challenge gaining weight.
Yeah.
As church leaders, we're to represent the fullness of the gospel. Scripture tells us to take care of our people. And yet, probably one of the most overweight sections of our society is like the evangelical church.
Yeah. Yeah.
And oftentimes the people on stage preaching that gospel.
Yeah.
What convicted me like crazy was I couldn't even preach taking care of your temple because I was like 40 pounds overweight.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
talk about challenge. Like,
Yeah.
so that was the challenge of my leadership going, how do I mean, if it's full gospel, like we preach the fullness of Scripture, I can't preach that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm not living it.
Yeah.
So I think, and that's always a tension point for ministers is like, we're never perfect. We're never going to live out everything. But man, I better have a plan or a strategy or prayer going into being death in me, being the best I can be in all facets of my life. To make sure I'm who God has created me to be, and that people aren't stumbling because of my overweightness.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just I can keep going with challenges.
Oh yeah, no, that's awesome. So like trying to balance that of like you said, preaching the gospel, but you're not perfect. So just trying to to do that. Maybe this next question, I think it relates almost to what you're talking about, the Timothy's, people you're pouring into, but whether the rewards that you've seen in leadership. Yeah. Sorry, that's more coffee.
It makes me want coffee.
Yeah.
Rewards, So we know that our rewards are in heaven, and in our line of work, I just don't think we can ever lose that perspective because I pray that there are more rewards in heaven for what I'm doing than earth. Wow. And depending on what line of work you go into, you could feel that more than others. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're at a church where the board sends you on a cruise once a year, that's a nice reward.
Sure.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's rare. It doesn't exist, type of thing.
Right.
But there are plenty of churches or boards that do appreciate, like during Pastoral Appreciation, like October. But it's full-time ministry is very thankless a lot of times, and so you got to remember who you're doing this for.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing it for the Lord, for obedience. And your word was reward, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if I get into like outside of the eternal ones, one more on the eternal. I've been dealing with children and youth my entire ministry experience. People group I've been with, and so you don't always get to see even your impact for years when you're dealing with children and youth. If you're with adults, you might be able to see some family restored, or some huge, step of a building being built or whatever, But in the children's and youth ministry, it was, you're 10 years.
Yeah.
It hurts to say, but it's pretty true. 10 years after you've planted seed, fertilized, plowed the ground, watered the ground, before you saw a plant that produced a godly young man or godly young lady that married a godly man or lady that now they have a godly family with kids.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it worked.
It happened. Yeah.
But it's like, and it's been weird at the season we're in now, like we're seeing some of our kids, that were in our ministries. And then I've got to officiate some of your weddings.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, like that is like, you just want to pinch yourself and go, I remember you. You know what I'm saying? Like when you were young and how you used to act and what you used to do, and look at you now, And there's the dark sides too, where it's like, you're like, how did that person fall away from the Lord? Like, how did they get a divorce? Like, I don't even understand, So I think with rewards is the long-term rewards. I think too, and this is maybe how I'm wired, and I feel like most people are wired this way, is that we're very quick, maybe in our simple human nature, to see where we fall short or where we've missed the ministry marker versus looking at the stories and the impact that God did through us. And so, with leading a nonprofit ministry, we have to, we do annual reports.
Yeah.
And so we'll do one big story or two, and then we'll do a bunch of statistics about numbers, measuring what God did. And so there's seasons in the first few years. I mean, we've been leading this ministry for about 7 years now, and 7 or 8 years. And there was times I'm like, you're talking about long term, man, what we do is very long term.
Yeah.
And you just didn't feel like you're ever going to see results.
Yeah.
And then the first few years that we had to go back to our churches and the families that we were helping and say, okay, how many children were fostered? How many children were adopted?
Yeah.
How many churches did we help? And I think last year it was something like 138 churches we served.
Wow.
I mean, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I was like, there's so many days I felt like I'm just staring at a computer and doing emails.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, and I need all my young leaders to hear that. You feel like you're staring at a computer, you're doing emails, you're making phone calls, and you're like, are we making an impact? And you start seeing things like 138 churches. I think we're in 17 different states.
Wow.
With stuff. We saw over 100 kids placed in homes last year.
Wow.
It's 100 lives touched with the gospel.
Yeah.
And you just don't always feel that, sometimes you do, but not always. Even our church here at the Oaks, for the last 2 years, we saw 133 kids fostered and 20 kids adopted.
Wow.
So when I get I'm going to go actually pick up some printed impact reports. We need a few more before the year's out. And I'm going to hold those. I'm going to give them to some guys tomorrow for a fundraiser. And I'm in awe when I see it. I'm just like, God, look what you're doing.
Wow.
And just, so, those types of moments, help me remember this is what God's doing through you and your impact. That's on the ministry side. I think on the family side, it's when, as a dad, right now I got 6 kids, 16-year-old, 14-year-old, 12-year-old, 2 11-year-olds, and a 7, almost 8-year-old. And when I see them pull out their Bible and do devotions, it makes my heart happy.
Yeah.
When I see them treating each other with love and respect, which is really challenging right now with a bunch of adolescents and adolescents right now, a lot of emotions and hormones.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of reward in the most difficult job on the planet, being a parent, and seeing them follow Jesus. And our oldest, is singing on the worship team and serving at the church, and I'm just like, wow, thank you, God.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of prayers, a lot of hard work, even in that, but the rewards of seeing our own children and families follow Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Good questions.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, it's good, man.
This is great. So,
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for Dr. Ace.